Hello, everyone. We're delighted to start our HopeTalk episode 2. Today, I wanted to discuss the topic of AI plus drug development in the clinical trial design with Dr. Hiroshi Tamada.
So, Dr. Tamada-san, do you mind tell us a little bit introduction about your journey and yourself?
Thank you. So hello everyone, my name is Hiroshi Tamada. I'm a Chief Medical Officer at Remiges Ventures. So this is a Japanese venture capital founded back in 2014. So we invest cross-border investment, Japan, United States, Canada, EU, even Israel. So we have 3 members in the United States, including myself in San Diego. So my background is, originally I was a physician. I specialized in cardiovascular medicine. After 10 years of clinical practice in Japan, I moved to the United States for stem cell research for 3 years. Upon completion of my stem cell research, I returned to Japan to join pharmaceutical industry. I worked for Pfizer, Merck, Bristol Myers Squibb, and actually I moved to New Jersey, Princeton, New Jersey, back in 2018 for BMS assignment. So around the end of 2021, I left BMS and joined small biotech in New Jersey. And 3 years ago, beginning of 2023, I joined the venture capital. So throughout my career, I started as a clinician, then basic research in stem cell, then moved to pharmaceutical industry. I have done many different things, medical affairs, R&D, business development, and finally marketing. So those multiple experience helped me to work at the venture capital. So venture capital is a mixture of R&D, research, investment, some commercial emphasis, BD. So all of those previous experience helped me to be a venture capitalist as of today. So I have been working with Hope AI to help our portfolio company to analyze phase 2 data or help them to shape a capital efficient deep risk clinical trial. So this is my honor and privilege to be here to have this podcast today. Right?
All right. Thank you. And what I really resonate and like Tamada-san's perspective is he never actually think AI is ultimate solution or a black box or a shortcut. He actually think AI is a hard and an important thing for the pharma industry. But thanks to right now, we're talking about AI in drug development. So I wanted to focus us to first talk about why we wanted to emphasize the clinical trial part, especially the clinical trial design, decision-making part is important. From my understanding, why clinical trial design part, today's theme, is important. First, because the clinical trial design decision is the key to determine a drug will go to the market or success or failure or not. And those decision is irreversible. So I'm gonna let Tamada-san share more about his knowledge about why clinical trial design part decision is critical.
Thank you. So in general, running clinical trial is very high risky practice. Regardless of the size of the company, we have to see many failure of clinical trial. So this is particularly critical to small biotech. Usually, small biotech has only one compound, limited capital, and limited number of people. Usually, small biotech does not have enough number of biostatisticians. So when small biotech designing phase 2 clinical trial, especially clinical proof of concept, this is point of no return. If the company is successful, the company will be able to get additional funding from the investor or go to FDA for potential accelerated approval. But if the company failed phase 2 proof of concept study, it would be very difficult for the company to raise additional money to continue the research. So the major challenge of the small biotech is when small biotech is designing phase 2 POC trial, they have to make a decision under huge uncertainty. Usually, small biotech is usually trying to develop drug for rare diseases, limited number of patients, limited number of previous evidence. And unlike big pharma, so the phase 1 dose escalation or phase 1B, phase 2A, the number of patients limited. If it is a big pharma, the company can conduct very large number of single arm study to really squeeze out expected efficacy. But for the small biotech, the company doesn't have a luxury to really explore the data before going to randomized phase 2 POC study. So there is an inherent risk for small biotech to design phase 2 POC, which is critical to the company with under huge uncertainty. That is why there is a eminent need to de-risk clinical trial to help made chief medical officer, CEO make a better decision to mitigate the risk designing phase 2 POC.
Now, why do you think we're talking about AI, like to what extent do you think AI is safely we can actually shape those decision making? Can you share us a little bit some user case? Because
So I believe applying for artificial intelligence to clinical trial design has following benefits. So as I explained, the small company have to make critical decisions under big uncertainty.
no capital is infinite, is finite, and the small biotech don't have internal stats arm, right? You mentioned.
Yeah, and given the small size, small capital, the biotech can't do very large extensive signal seeking in phase 1.
Yeah, of course.
So amount of the data is limited. So the size of uncertainty is large. However, I think there is a couple of ways to apply AI to reduce uncertainty or control, mitigate uncertainty. So let me explain. So in designing clinical trial, there are 3 major components to consider. The first one is sample size. How many patients the company should enroll to test a hypothesis. Okay. So in the past, sample size is fixed. Okay. If we choose to, let's say, we recruit 100 patients, 50-50. Once decision is made, you can't change sample size halfway through clinical trial. This is a traditional clinical trial design.
I wanted to ask Tamada why we are talking about sample size first in this user case, because sample size is really, really important. And I think there is one part that maybe several of some audience don't understand. That can you tell me more about why sample size is important?
Thank you. So let me start from why sample size is a high priority. So when you do clinical trial, so you have hypothesis, this drug should be better than placebo. So there should be incremental benefit of the drug. Okay? To test this hypothesis, you need to have certain number of patients who is assigned to the drug, who is assigned to comparator, mostly placebo. So to prove this hypothesis, you have to be statistically significant. And so it is so-called power for the capability to capture the actual difference between 2 drugs. Okay?
Yeah.
To increase the power, detectability of the difference, you will need to increase sample size. However, given the finite capital, limited amount of capital, the company cannot recruit too large number of patients. So it is a fine line. How many patients is good enough? Not too short, not too large. So precise estimation of the sample size is critical. So if, however, decision of the sample size have to be made under some uncertainty, because unlike big company, small biotech cannot produce enough amount of data to have really precisely predict effect size. So until you start phase 2, you always have some uncertainty. You have enough patients. And I have seen many clinical trials. Drug seems working. There is a numerical difference. That because of the shorter sample size, the study did not reach statistical significance.
I was really shocked when I first heard about when I first about sample size. I think it's just kind of stats method, but I heard when I actually know the story in the real life is by reducing let's say 1 sample size for patient that can save $500,000 because it's in reality, it's transferred to the real money spent on the patient for the drugs. So reducing sample size, of course, for smaller biotech is really, they really want as much accurate sample size enough, given the capital is finite circumstances. So do you think right now with AI, how can AI add some stats innovation to control risk?
Thank you. So I think there are two ways. Before, actually implement starting clinical trial. So company can use AI to do massive simulation, 1,000 times simulation with different scenarios. So before company actually fix the design, spend the money, company can really explore what the probability looks like, how much risk of failure, how much chance of early winning, or how much uncertainty you have to deal with the simulation, massive simulation by using AI. Second one is sample size re-estimation. So this is a relatively new concept and it's a part of adaptive study design. So these days, regulatory agencies like FDA is getting more flexible to accept more advanced adaptive design. So sample size re-estimation is as follows. Halfway through clinical trial, maybe interim analysis after capturing 50% of events, company can look into the data, and if the drug seems working, there is a numerically better response versus comparator. That, given the small sample size, you realize it will never be able to reach statistical significance. In that situation, with predefined criteria, you will be able to increase the sample size to achieve statistical significance. This type of adaptive design has been a bit challenging in the past, but these days, FDA, especially FDA, is getting more flexible, acceptable for this type of research. So sample size re-estimation itself can be done by human without AI, but as I explained, with massive simulation beforehand, which helps how you apply sample size re-estimation. So these two factors, AI will be able to play a major role to help company to define right sample size with insurance of sample size re-estimation.
Yeah. So what I heard is, first of all, AI can do is the sample size re-estimation is, of course, human traditionally can do that, but it takes a lot of communication effort cross-board delivery team, cross-functional delivery team to communicate. But now with AI, we can save it the time more efficient and let the decision be more expandable and continues to make the sample size re-estimation quicker and adjust the trials, make trial decisions smarter and faster.
Yeah,
right?
Faster, smart, and more robust way.
Robust way.
Because of thousands of iterative simulation helps company to become much more confident.
Yeah, and you also mentioned the use case about the sample size calculator. So right now with the AI, we can help those traditional sample size calculating with a more scalable way and more commercialized way to better deliver the more accurate sample size calculation. So also wanted to follow up about we were talking about making choices under uncertainty, and we know many choices regards to the stats for trial designs is made with randomization.
Right. So let me put it this way. So when you run clinical trial, you have to deal with variabilities. Okay, how you control variability.
Yeah.
So there is a widely accepted notion to control variability is randomization. If you do perfect randomization, all of the patient background should be equally distributed between two arms. Okay?
Yeah.
That is true. But unlike big company, a biotech phase 2 is likely to be very small. Or maybe the disease itself to be rare disease. You may not be able to find enough number of patients. You have to deal with much smaller number of patients, smaller sample size. So even though with the best effort for conducting perfect randomization. So I often see unbalanced patient allocation despite the effort of randomization. For example, there is an example, a company done phase 2 POC, try to do perfect randomization. Because of a small number of the trial, more sick patient is assigned to actual drug versus placebo, which really makes interpretation difficult. Is the drug really working, or it's just unlucky biased distribution of the patient? So that is why how to control this variability is critical. Of course, you can do a clone to try to do a perfect randomization, but at the same time, when you complete the trial, there is other way to control variability, so-called covariate adjustment. So this is, you can do covariate adjustment without using AI by human. Now, however, which covariate you will adjust? So before you
denoising, just analyzing the variables as noise in the subway.
So before you do phase 2, you will do some phase 1 study. Maybe you can do some biomarker analysis. So there is thousands of data, right?
Yeah.
So let's say if you use your analogy, listening music in noisy subway, right? So there is two ways to listen to the music. Increase the sound, right? Increase the number of patients.
Will that be the sample, increasing the sample size?
Yeah. Or maybe before you jump into phase 2, you give the drug large number of patients, single arm, dose escalation. Okay? 2, like a noise cancelling headphone to take out some noises. So if you use AI, before you jump into phase 2, you can explore hundreds of data points, which data is actually predicting what affecting the outcome, which will become important variable. Of course, when you design and conduct phase 2, you have to pre-specify which covariate you're going to adjust. But previous data will help you to decide which covariate really affecting clinical outcome. So with the support of your AI, you will be able to identify best educated assumption which covariate you have to adjust when after completing phase 2.
I see. If I understood that correctly, so right now, the industry is like, and love the analogy of the headphone, because when we're taking subway, right now, majority what we're doing is there are two ways for listen to the music. It's either increase the volume or put the noise cancellation headphone. So increasing the sample size is most ways right now what the industry has been doing is just increasing the volume. However, our challenge is not always the best and rational choice. And thanks to the AI technology right now, we can try to input the covariate adjustment, which is a stats methods to decrease, to kind of cancel the noise from the headphone. And that's a really like an emerging but still embracing by FDA's method, right? We'll talk about that in the later part. Yes. But I wanted you to share more about another third use case that we talked so much about the randomization, but in the stats and trial design. But I want to ask, is randomization always feasible? Is there a way that can reduce the sample size without,
Yes. So I've talked about sample size and how to control variability, like a covariate adjustment.
Yes.
The third component is choice of control arm. So when you conduct clinical trial, you have to test your hypothesis. The drug should be better than nothing compared with placebo, or new drug is better than old drug. Okay, so you need to compare with something. So comparator is control arm. However, as you mentioned, it is not always feasible to do randomization in two arms. For instance, if you are trying to develop a drug for rare disease, you may not have enough number of patients in the world to enable two-arm study. Or from ethical standpoint, it may be impossible to assign patients to the placebo arm. When I talk to investigator, more and more patients don't like the idea I will be assigned to placebo. So it will become more challenging, rare disease situation to randomly assign patient to control arm. So in that case, there are two possible ways. One is to refer historical control. So previous observation risk study could become a comparator of the choice. Second one is using AI power. Company can come up with synthetic control arm. So the idea is use previous clinical trial data, and AI can use synthetic patient in a computer, expecting to behave like an actual patient on placebo arm. So this idea is still new, and there is still limited case accepted by FDA. But this is very meaningful ideas to reduce the burden on patients to be assigned to placebo. And for clinical trial perspective, it makes clinical trial more feasible, especially in rare disease setting, to preserve the number of patients on actual trial.
Yeah, what I'm hearing, one information I'm catching is from the ethical part. This new method, synthetic IPD with AI, can largely make so many existing unethical almost randomization be rational and still keep the data and information accurate. And but we were talking about those exciting use cases in the AI, but I'm wondering if that's really important. But what if FDA don't buy it? All those things doesn't matter anymore. So can you share us a little bit the trend in FDA recently right now?
Thank you. So I think FDA is one of the most innovative or visionary regulatory agency in the world. So in terms of application of AI and advanced statistical method, FDA has been leading entire regulatory science in the past several years. Back in 2023, FDA issued an industry guidance how company can apply advanced statistics and artificial intelligence. So this became the cornerstone of the guidance for the industry. So with the endorsement or proactive support from FDA, so we are entering new era to apply advanced AI and advanced statistics in design clinical trial. As I explained in the beginning of our podcast, AI has been applied mostly to drug discovery in pharma company, but with the endorsement of FDA and with a clear industry guidance, it is much more feasible and easier for us to apply advanced statistics and AI in designing clinical trial. Without FDA's endorsement, it would have been more difficult. And even FDA themselves has launched their own AI for regulatory review starting from 2025. So this regulatory reform has been a huge push for new technology to be adapted to clinical trial.
Do you think this, as we all know, life science industry actually embrace AI relatively slow, right? Why do you think is the motivation for FDA's transition for the attitude?
Yes. So I think FDA's core mission is to maximize the welfare of the patient in the United States.
For sure. Yes.
Right. So I think FDA has been lots of failed clinical trial. Even though it seems like drug is working, but it didn't achieve statistical significance. From patient point of view, if I am assigned to whatever clinical trial, I feel drug is working. My physician says your cancer is shrinking, and I feel much better than before. I'm sure the drug is working. But at some point, my doctor told me, sorry, the sponsor said trial is failed. Even though I feel and doctor think the drug is at least working for me, the trial is terminated. The drug is never be available in the market. So it is a huge burden of the patient. So patients spend time, resource, energy, and even the hope. But because of narrowly missed statistical significance, the drug was not able to coming out to the market. It is a huge loss to the, of course, the possible patient, and second of the industry. I don't think FDA will continue to see this type of failure. I think this is the background why FDA is becoming more proactive and flexible.
Yeah. What is touching for me is Tamada-san mentioned that so Tamada-san actually started his earlier career journey as a physician. He spent almost 10 years in the hospital, and you mentioned you witnessed a lot of patients dying because they don't receive the treatment, not because the science is not strong, but because of the human bias, the decision making, and the study design failure. So that's why you motivated you to pursue your education in research in the States, right?
So I graduated medical school back in 1990s, many years ago. Back then, there was not much good treatment, good drug. It was amazing to witness in the past 3 decades more and more great medication is coming out to the market. Okay, but I still see lots of failure in clinical trial despite advancements in science in the past 3 decades. I think small companies, especially biotech, does not fail because of weak science. Okay, science is good. However, most of the time, I think biotech failed because of missed decision made under huge uncertainty. So this is a huge gap. But I think new technologies such as artificial intelligence will be able to reduce the amount of uncertainty to help make better decisions. At the same time, if there is, inherent, risk is there, AI will be able to modify or kind of mitigate the control the risk to some extent. So these are the kind of real value for developing new drug, eliminate uncertainty, control the risks.
Can you share a little bit regards to takeaways in the future in this year, 2026? To the audience, what do you think the future for the clinical trial design in the AI drug development this year will be the transition?
Yeah.
Some trend. Yeah.
So, I have seen a couple of examples. Small biotech start using AI for clinical trial design. And I think in the near future, big company will also use AI for their own clinical trial design. Okay, and this will be able to speed up the development duration and reduce the cost. And for the patient perspective, it will give a higher chance of successful drug development. That is going to happen. So technology is there, advanced technology, shaping regulatory framework. This is great. More efficient clinical trial. Ultimately, it will be benefit to the patient. So this type of kind of 4-layer pyramid will be surely implemented in 2026 and beyond. That's what I'm believing.
I'm just wondering, curious, because you are the clinical lead in the big pharma. If you were working that job today, can you imagine an industry that in the future maybe you're working with AI teammates like AI clinician and AI statistician problem, as well as maybe AI regulatory and medical writer? How trustworthy and how accountable you want to hold them, and can you imagine this future?
So it depends on how much you can trust your own AI. So, for instance, now FDA is using their AI to review the application.
Yes.
Even big pharma start using AI for the query response to FDA. In theory, these two AI, regulatory agency, pharma company AI, can communicate each other to come to certain conclusion. But the point is, how much can you trust your own AI? Is AI not making any mistakes? This type of assurance, kind of quality control, is critical. Okay, that's for sure.
Speed, but not
Yes.
safe.
Yeah, it's I can put it this way: speed with rigor. Speed with rigor. Okay, speed should be increased, but at the same time, how to ensure the rigorousness. Okay, speed with rigor. But if those concerns are addressed, I think in the near future, I think it is possible. One person CEO biotech can do from drug discovery all the way down to regulatory filing, INDA and approval. I think it could be possible. So I'm really expecting, advanced technology AI will be able to reduce the, amount of resources for clinical trial, drug discovery, clinical development, even regulatory filing.
I love your perspective. Also, in terms of your point of one person CEO in the future, but what do you think is the last part that AI cannot replace or automate for like decision making, the convincing,
Yeah. So even though AI will be able to help to reduce uncertainty, control the risk, but final decision need to be made by human, because when there are two options, option A, option B, both of them has pros and cons, right? So you can't really decide from statistical or rational point of view. So people have to decide either way. Two, you need to engage human stakeholders. So if you are a CEO of the biotech, you have board of directors in your board, which is likely to be their own investors. Okay? Each investor has different perspectives. Somebody wants to stay kind of more conservative to make sure the trial goes well, but somebody has to some kind of time pressure to exit as early as possible. To deal with those different stakeholders with different priorities, different interests. I think that is still human part.
Yes, for sure. What is one piece of advice you will give to smaller biotech CEO that they can execute this year?
Okay. So your question is,
what is one piece of advice you would like to give to the smaller biotech CEOs or the leads in the industry?
So still, I would say you still have to make a decision by yourself, but applying advanced technology, advanced statistics is really reduce the burden for yourself to secure enough time or energy for you to think through really important question or really important decisions. So use AI in wisely upfront before you commit large capital. So this is a message to the biotech CEO for now.
Thank you.
Sure.
I think today is thanks Dr. Hiroshi's informative conversation. We first talk about the why study design part in the clinical trial is important, because this is related to the auto decision making. And then we move on to why especially smaller biotech suffers, and why smaller biotech is actually, you mentioned 60% of the market. Right.
Yeah, so even big pharma, more than half or more than 50%, maybe up to 60% of asset is coming out from biotech to the big pharma.
So it's actually a really big, large-based population that has not really been touched and adopted by AI. So how do we make sure, we talk about how do we make sure the clinical trial will not be the last untouched bottleneck? How do we make sure? And we also talk about some user case. So Dr. Hiroshi Tamada-san shared 3 user case. One is sample size importance, and we talk about the sample size re-estimation, and then we move to the covariate adjustment, which is also really important as a leading stats innovation, and as well as how the synthetic IPD data, all those AI-related user case, like me and I think, of course, you guys know how can AI right now changes the user case for adoption. And then we talk about if all those adoption works. If FDA don't buy it, doesn't matter. So Tamada shared two trends related to the FDA's shifting attitudes from slow embracing to appreciating and endorsement. Especially, I like the cancellation headphone example. And then thanks finally to your advice to the VCs and the clinical leads in the big pharma as well as the biotech leader. Yes. Yes, Riz. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
thank you. All right, is this good enough? All right, perfect. All right, thank you.
Wow.
Very nice.
This first collaboration is really dry, and I'm looking forward to our future collabs.
There we go. Perfect.
To make sure. Oh, I want to make sure that.
Should be good.